fine-tuned machine. After firing his national security advisor, Mike Flynn, the president praising him today, instead blaming the leaks, saying those responsible are going to pay. And our correspondent asking about reports that several people close to Trump communicated with the Russians before the election.
Can you say definitively that nobody on your campaign had any contacts with the Russians during the campaign? And on the leaks, is it fake news or are these real leaks?
Also tonight, the Russian spy ship on the move just 30 miles off the American coastline. What's going on and how did the president react to that today? The two girls discovered in the woods, authorities asking for your help tonight. Their last Snapchat and the image of a man authorities would like to talk to. And the phone wars heating up tonight. 3 more carriers with major deals. It's your money.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Thursday night. And we begin with President Trump's nearly 80-minute news conference today. He unleashed on the leaks, on the intelligence community, and on the press. The president blasting reports that his administration is in chaos, calling it, in his words, a fine-tuned machine, saying he doesn't think there has been any president who has done as much as they have in just 28 days. He was pressed about reports his aides were in contact with the Russians before the election, and he was asked about his fired national security advisor. The president defending him and his actions, instead blaming the leaks from the intelligence community and vowing they'll pay for it. ABC's chief White House correspondent Jonathan Karl leading us off.
Chaos? What chaos? President Trump summoned the news media to the East Room of the White House today to declare his presidency off to an historically great start.
I turn on the TV, open the newspapers, and I see stories of chaos. Chaos. Yet it is the exact opposite. This administration is running like a fine-tuned machine.
As evidence, he pointed to the soaring stock market, his executive orders cutting regulations, and the smooth rollout of his Supreme Court nominee.
I don't think there's ever been a president elected who in this short period of time has done what we've done.
He said he inherited a mess, but in just 28 days of the Trump presidency, there's been a year's worth of tumult and drama. The firing of his national security advisor, his travel ban struck down by the courts, his labor secretary nominee withdrawn under a cloud. Today, the president blamed most of it on the press.
Yes, we have to talk about it to find out what's going on, because the press honestly is out of control. The level of dishonesty is out of control.
As for the growing controversy surrounding his former national security advisor and reports of his campaign advisors' contacts with the Russians, Trump dismissed it all as fake news.
I just want to get you to clarify, because it's a very important point. Can you say definitively that nobody on your campaign had any contacts with the Russians during the campaign? And on the leaks, is it fake news or are these real leaks?
Well, the leaks are real. You're the one that wrote about them and reported them. I mean, the leaks are real. You know what they said. You saw it. And the leaks are absolutely real. The news is fake because so much of the news is fake.
But was his campaign in contact with the Russians?
The first part of my question, the contacts, can you definitively say that nobody...
Well, I had nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with Russia. I told you. I have no deals there. I have no anything.
Later, AP's Julie Pace pressed again. Was anybody on his campaign talking to the Russians?
No, nobody that I know of. Nobody.
So you're not aware of any contacts during the course
of
of the election?
How many times do I have to answer this question?
Can you just say
Russia
yes or no
is
on
a
it?
ruse. Yeah, I know you have to get up and ask a question so important. Russia is a ruse. I have nothing to do with Russia. Haven't made a phone call to Russia in years.
Once again today, President Trump touted his surprising win in November, making a remarkable claim about the electoral vote.
We got 306 because people came out and voted like they've never seen before. So that's the way it goes. I guess it was the biggest electoral college win since Ronald Reagan.
The problem? That's not even close to being true. In fact, President Obama, President Clinton, and President George H.W. Bush all won with more electoral votes than President Trump. As another reporter pointed out, Trump's numbers were wrong.
I don't know. I was given that information. I've seen that information around. But it was a very substantial victory. Do you agree with that?
You're the president.
Okay, thank you. That's a good answer. Yes.
John Carl with us live at the White House tonight. And John, this press conference initially was going to be about the president's new nominee for Labor Secretary, Alexander Acosta. But the president spent less than a minute making that announcement and then moved on. John, you were in the room. It became very clear today that he had other things on his mind he wanted to get off his chest.
17 different reporters asking questions. This was only his second full-blown solo press conference since July, David. He has spent a lot of time avoiding tough questions in his limited interactions with the press. He's been calling on friendly conservative outlets, but he seemed to relish in this, especially taking on the hard questions. And I'll tell you, afterwards, I'm told by his senior staff he was energized, and they tell me he'll do more of these.
We heard him say it today. He was enjoying it. John Carl leading us off. John, thank you. You heard the president defend the national security advisor he just fired, General Michael Flynn. President Trump said today Flynn was not forthcoming with the vice president about a conversation he had with the Russians. Tonight, new questions about what General Flynn told the FBI and what he didn't. ABC's senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas with what he's just learned.
Tonight, Justice Department attorneys are intensely reviewing why former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn made misleading statements to the White House about his conversations with Russia's ambassador to the U.S. and whether he broke any laws in the process. Sources familiar with the case tell ABC News Flynn was less than entirely forthcoming in an interview with the FBI in the days just after the inauguration, but apparently did not cross the threshold of intentional lying. Today, President Trump continued to praise the man he fired.
Mike Flynn is a fine person, and I asked for his resignation. He respectfully gave it.
Flynn came under scrutiny in the intelligence community after it saw White House officials, including Vice President-elect Mike Pence, saying repeatedly he did not discuss sanctions with the Russian ambassador. The FBI and intelligence community knew otherwise because they had recorded the conversation. In a dramatic move, the Justice Department told White House officials that Flynn had misled them, and some were concerned he could be blackmailed by the Russians. The White House, even as it criticized Flynn for misleading officials there, has argued that Flynn broke no laws. And it's clear the president continues to share that view.
He was just doing his job. The thing is, he didn't tell our vice president properly, and then he said he didn't remember. So either way, it wasn't very satisfactory to me.
Trump even going so far today to say he was fine with Flynn talking to the Russians about sanctions.
It certainly would have been okay with me if he did it. I would have directed him to do it if I thought he wasn't doing it. I didn't direct him, but I would have directed him because that's his job.
And Pierre Thomas with us live tonight from our Washington bureau. And Pierre, sources telling ABC that Flynn was less than forthcoming, you just reported, but that they haven't found an intent to deceive. So he's less likely to face any criminal charges here?
David, the Flynn investigation and review could take more time to complete. But our sources tonight are reminding us that proving that someone intentionally lied is a very high bar. David?
Pierre Thomas, our thanks to you tonight. And all of this was playing out today as a Russian spy ship was on the move about 30 miles off the American coastline, among a series of provocative military moves, and the president was asked about it today. ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega tonight.
Tonight, the U.S. Navy is tracking this Russian spy ship last seen off the coast of Virginia. The ship now making its way south after a stop near a Connecticut submarine base. ABC News got an up-close look in 2015 when it docked in Havana. The ship is loaded with radar, a cannon, anti-aircraft guns, and electronic surveillance, equipment that can intercept communications and help Russia spy on Navy operations. Today, President Trump refusing to say exactly what he'd do about it, instead offering this quip.
The greatest thing I could do is shoot that ship that's 30 miles offshore right out of the water. Everyone in this country is going to say, oh, it's so great. That's not great. That's not great.
Last Friday, Russian jets buzzed a Navy destroyer in the Black Sea, and Russia has secretly deployed a new cruise missile, a move that would violate an arms treaty. The president today pressed about the provocations.
You mentioned the vessel, the spy vessel off the coast of the United States.
Not good.
There was a ballistic missile test that many interpret as
Not
a violation
good.
of an
Not
agreement
good.
between the two countries, and a Russian plane buzzed a U.S. destroyer.
Not good.
Can we conclude there'll be no response to these particular provocations?
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you anything about what response I do. I don't talk about military response.
All right, Cecilia Vega with us here in New York tonight, and we all heard the president there talking about what he could do, shoot the ship, but said he's not going to do that. Didn't reveal what he would do, but what are we hearing from military sources today?
Well, right now, David, they're not too concerned, but they are monitoring this ship closely. It's made this route before, but as you said, it's right now about 30 miles off the coast, firmly planted at this point in international waters.
All right, Cecilia Vega, great to have you here in person tonight. We move on now, and at one other moment making headlines tonight from the president's news conference. At one point, President Trump asked a reporter to help him set up a meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus. The question came as a surprise to members of that caucus who said they had already reached out to the president, not to mention asking a reporter to set up the meeting. ABC's Mary Bruce on the Hill tonight.
On Capitol Hill tonight, heads shaking over President Trump's response to this question.
Go ahead.
Are you going to include the CBC, Mr. President, in your conversations with your urban agenda, your inner city agenda, as well as...
Am I going to include
Are you
who?
going to include the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional
Well,
Hispanic
I would.
Caucus,
I tell you what. Do you want to
as
set
well
up
as
the
on
meeting? Do you want to
CB
set up the meeting?
No.
Are they friends of
I'm
yours?
just a reporter.
No, set up the meeting.
I know some of them, but I'm sure
Let's
they're
go.
watching
Set up
right
a
now.
meeting. I would love to meet with the Black Caucus. I think it's great.
Watching on Capitol Hill, members of the Congressional Black Caucus in shock.
This man is clueless.
Congressman Emanuel Cleaver in disbelief that the president would ask that reporter, April Ryan of the American Urban Radio Networks, to set up the meeting.
Because there was a black woman in the room, the assumption was that some way, somehow, in spite of the fact that she was a reporter, she had some kind of unique contact with the Congressional Black Caucus.
You don't think he would have asked another reporter to set up a meeting like that?
Well, I don't think that he would have asked you to set up the meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus.
Mary Bruce with us live tonight from the Hill. And Mary, the Congressional Black Caucus says they reached out to the president a month ago.
The CBC sent a letter to the president saying they hope to work together, but they never received a response. Tonight, we're told the White House is working to set up that meeting. David?
Mary Bruce with us tonight live from the Hill. Mary, thank you. We move on now to that controversial travel ban. The administration says it will no longer fight the court ruling that suspended it. Instead, President Trump revealing today he will roll out a new immigration executive order next week, one that aims to address the concerns that caused a federal judge to suspend the ban in the first place. Meantime, tonight, there were protests and walkouts across the country today aimed at demonstrating immigrants' impact on this economy. Hundreds marched through the streets of Detroit there, where many stores and restaurants were closed. It comes after a week of sweeps by immigration authorities and hundreds of arrests. ABC's Clayton Sandell from Denver.
Tonight, around the country, restaurant kitchens are empty, factories are deserted, and schools quiet. As thousands take to the streets in cities like Chicago, Minneapolis, and Charlotte, a show of solidarity organized on social media, the idea to demonstrate what life in this country of immigrants might look like without them. Even at the Pentagon food court, some restaurants were closed. This Beverly Hills doctor is juggling patients without a staff.
It's necessary that we do things to resist the kinds of changes that are being brought upon us by the Trump administration.
Immigrant workers in the U.S. number nearly 30 million, many 12 million in restaurants. One immigrant reform group says in 2014, legal and illegal workers paid about $329 billion in state and federal taxes. The protests are gaining traction as ICE agents step up raids. A crackdown critics say is targeting non-violent undocumented immigrants like Jeanette Vizgara. After 20 years in the U.S., Vizgara is now targeted to be deported. She's seeking sanctuary in the basement of this Denver church, hoping she won't be torn away from her kids. Vizgara says she will stay in this Denver church until the U.S. government tells her she can walk free. She knows that could be a very long time. David?
Clayton Sandell with us tonight. Thank you, Clayton. We turn overseas now and to two devastating bombings claimed by ISIS. In Karachi, Pakistan, a suicide bomber attacking a famous religious shrine there, killing at least 75 worshippers, another 200 wounded. And in Baghdad, a car bomb exploded at an auto dealership. At least 51 people were killed there, more than 60 wounded. ISIS claiming in an online statement that they were targeting Shiite Muslims. Back here in this country, the FBI making an arrest tonight in what they say was a plot to attack a synagogue here. A South Carolina man with white supremacist ties accused of buying a pistol from an undercover agent, telling the agent he planned an attack, quote, in the spirit of Dylan Roof. Roof, of course, murdered 9 worshipers at an African-American church. The FBI citing a number of the suspect's online posts, including anti-Semitic comments and a picture of a Myrtle Beach synagogue with threatening language. There is still much more ahead on World News Tonight this Thursday. The murder mystery in the middle of the country, 2 girls discovered in the woods. The girls sending their last Snapchat, and authorities are asking for your help tonight. Police releasing an image of a man that they would like to talk to. More when we come back. Also, the explosion knocking out power to thousands. Fire then spreading to nearby buildings. And your money tonight, the phone wars heating up yet again. 3 more carriers tonight offering major deals. How to save for your family when we come back.
At Safelite, we know how busy your life can be.
Oh, no.
This mom didn't have time to worry about a cracked windshield, so she scheduled at Safelite.com. And with Safelite's exclusive On My Way text, she knew exactly when I'd be there, so she didn't miss a single shot. I replaced her windshield, giving her more time for what matters most. How'd you do?
We won.
Nice. That's another Safelite advantage.
So much. Safelite repair, Safelite replace.
Your brain changes as you get older, but Prevagen helps your brain with an ingredient originally discovered in jelly.